Pasito tum tum, pasito tum tum, pasito tum tum, pasito tum tum, pasito tum tum.
In many ways, the work of a critic is easy. We risk very little, yet enjoy a position over those who offer up their work and themselves to our judgment.
What is a film critic? In basic terms, it is someone who watches too many movies and gives his opinion whether it's good or bad. Depending on the review, it can persuade someone to go see it or just avoid it.
The ladies and I were just watching Jack and Jill. Adam Sandler plays a guy and his sister, and it's just awful. It's unwatchable.
Ever since film critics have grabbed the attention, they've carried around negative stereotypes of labels. They're the self-important opinionators, the ones who feel like their words matter the most from all the knowledge they have that others don't, thus placing themselves in a high pedestal of knowledge while demeaning the rest as ignorant.
They all hang on my every word, and I'm going to use my power to finally get what this town really needs.
They focus too much on the negative. They're not able to enjoy something for what it is, and so they nitpick any small detail to destroy the creator's work.
The review.
Oh.
They hated it. They hated me.
They had aspirations of being filmmakers or actors or being part of show business. In their unfulfilled disillusion, they take their frustrations by criticizing other people's work, showing that they're still part of the work environment that they once wanted.
A man becomes a critic when he cannot be an artist, the same way that a man becomes an informer when he cannot be a soldier.
Now, of course, I included have fallen into these categories, or we have met someone like this. In our current internet film community, most prefer to be called movie reviewers, based on the negative definition of the word critic, when as it refers to a person who expresses an unfavorable opinion of something. Review is defined as carefully examining the quality of something. So whether you prefer being called a movie reviewer, despite how big or small your platform is, regardless if you're a very well-known critic or not, if you're talking about movies, you're a film critic. So I want to look at what is the role of a critic. And for some, this might be interpreted as how to be a YouTube reviewer. And that works fine.
Your occupation before the war? I'm film critic.
Much like in any art form, there's critics for food, painting, architecture, and so on. Film criticism is one of the earliest since the beginning of the 20th century. We gotta look at a movie review as a form of journalism, since that's how it first started, and that's how our videos and online reviews still go to this process. In 1904, film criticism began with the publish of the Optical Lantern and Cinematograph Journal. The paper wasn't a criticism on the industry itself. It was a behind-the-scenes look at the directors, how did the camera techniques work, and how did they shoot the films. This paper set the stage that a film critic should not be about bad-mouthing something, but informing like a news reporter, carefully, well-researched, and responsible with the information. In the late 70s, film criticism was expanded from newspaper into television with Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert, two of the most well-known, respected critics of our generation, and two of the most inspirational critics that later inspired several movie critics on the internet. And some would still influence my channel like Lindsey Ellis, Cineflix, Oliver Harper, Deep Focus Lens, Dog Walker's Nostalgia Critic, Real School, Superhero Rewind, former Comic Book Girl 19, The Take, formerly known as Screen Prism. By the late 70s and late 90s, Siskel and Ebert brought an inside look at the current movies playing.
My thumb down is up. But we both like Quentin Tarantino's wickedly funny and moving Pulp Fiction,
while educating us about the past, preserving it as history that shouldn't be tangled with.
We're going to be remembering those same enchanted days of silent movies.
But they could be enjoyable and fun, leaving an example of not taking it too seriously, even though they sometimes took it too seriously.
No, boredom with Benji running.
I hated this movie. Hated this movie.
Now, in our online era, anyone can be a reviewer, and it could be argued if it's necessary to have too many untrained opinions. I myself included, who did not come from a journalism background or can make mistakes if there isn't someone checking up on us.
That when there's too many reviewers, people no longer know who is the real food critic.
In the online world of video reviewers, there are three basic styles of reviews. The first one, I like to call it the Camry review. These reviewers tend to play characters and be more entertaining, summarizing the whole movie until the end, though these can seem more radical reviews and a little outdated. The second is the blogger reviewer, the one who stands in front of the cameras themselves and talk about the movie, barely using any clips. And the third is the most popular right now, the essay reviewer, the ones who don't show their face at all and only use clips from the movie to analyze it in what they seem to be more professional and informative. Just like in everything, there is positives and there is negatives. On the positive side, being a critic can help you understand how the world works. If you watch many international movies and from other periods, you experience different worldviews that may challenge your own. And that's where not only you learn how to cope with it, you learn how different we all are and how there is much more to learn from each other. Thus, it helps you create your own deeper thoughts of words and writings that you might have never had at first.
Gran parte de lo que me gusta de la crítica o del ensayo cinematográfico es la oportunidad que tienes de pensar la película a través de su lenguaje y a través del tuyo.
On the negative side, criticism can make us more cynical, desensitizing us from having a more casual fun experience.
Not for one moment did I believe you were a tree.
It is said that the more knowledge you gain, the more grief you increase, because once you gain a perspective of how the world truly is, it can build personal barriers on those that don't have your same philosophical worldview. And in our yearn to sound more academic and cultured, we can sound more arrogant, pretentious know-it-alls that only use this platform for complaining.
You know the problem with Hollywood is? They make shit. Unbelievable, unremarkable shit.
So, here are some things you should do as a critic, or YouTube reviewer, movie reviewer. If you're gonna do it in a writing form, do it in your own words. It doesn't need to sound academic or sophisticated with eloquent words. It's your opinion that you're writing. You're sharing your experience you had with the movie. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did it make you cry, laugh, and rage? Or did it leave no impact?
And it's not a science, and you're not talking about the truth. What you're saying is, this is what happened to me. They should make all reviews and criticisms be in the first person to remind people that it's their own view.
It's about finding your voice and the way you communicate the information. Orson Welles once said this about critics in Peter Biskind's book. If you're gonna be an interesting critic, you gotta have a little shing. It's alright to be wrong, but you gotta be interesting. We're all in the same business. We're entertaining the public.
Overacting it is absolutely impossible to say anything except that in the opinion of this reviewer, it represents a new low.
The more personal and unrestricted the writing is, the more passionate it feels, and you'll be looking forward to writing the next review. Make the people care about your opinion. In an online era where there is more competition for the new up-and-comers to be heard, if you start doing reviews, know this: nobody cares about your opinion. Ask yourself this: why do I want to listen to you when I can listen to someone who's done it for so long and better? What can you offer that others don't? If you say that Aquaman is good because the cinematography looks good, I know. Everyone has said it. Even casual viewers know it. What's so insightful about that? Nothing.
There's nothing in here about technique. There's nothing in here about structure. Nothing in here about intention. It's just a bunch of crappy opinions backed up by even crappier comparisons.
If you give me an insight about the cinematographer and what other works he has done, okay, that feels more interesting. If you tell me in Jurassic Park they blended the special effects using the animatronic T-Rex head with a CGI body, well, I didn't know that. I want to know, what else do you know?
True trilogies are all about going back to the beginning and discovering something that wasn't true from the get-go. Godfather, Jedi.
So remember that if you're new, nobody is researching your opinion. Make them care and want to look forward to your review. And the only way to engage them and improve your writing is by the hardest process. You have to do research. I don't pretend to be a reader because I'm not, but it is necessary. Read books about the film industry. Get informed by watching documentaries, interviews, or read other informative reviews. And it's better to expand your film knowledge by looking into older classic films and international movies. Not just stick to what's modern and popular, because majority of our pop culture will be forgotten. And this helps you have better references and compare and contrast modern work of today, and you'll be able to fill in the gaps with more insightful information.
Take Dog Day Afternoon, for example. Arguably Pacino's best work, short of Scarface and Godfather Part 1, of course.
An insightful reviewer will answer these questions. Who is the director? What other films he or she has done? Did he or she incorporate their beliefs in the movie? What was it based on? A book? A true event? Were the facts exaggerated for dramatic purpose? This will give the review a lot more meat to chew on, and it will not only be interesting, but it will feel educational, even if the subject matter doesn't seem like there is much depth into it. I never thought a Powerpuff Girl review by Superhero Rewind would have sounded so deep.
Superhero lesson number 3. Be mindful of those who would take advantage of your skills for their own motives. Child lesson? Don't talk to strangers.
The best way you're gonna distinguish a good critic from a bad critic is someone that makes you empathize for a character. Good critics point out the fictional representations that mirror our real-life problems. If we can empathize for a character who's not real, then we can sure empathize for someone in the real world,
helping us see the humanity inside all of us. I know I felt bad for Megan Fox's misusage, mentioned by Lindsey Ellis' Transformer videos.
This is the message that Bay was sending Fox. You are an object, you are disposable, you can be replaced.
Now here are some things that you shouldn't do. Going back to finding your own voice, don't go with what's popular to like or dislike.
Just personally wanting to be liked, wanting to go along with the group. Death to a critic.
It's not what Rotten Tomatoes score dictates is good, not even if it's Oscar nominated, because even the Oscars can get it wrong with Crash. We have to understand we all come from different backgrounds, and we have different tastes and opinions. That is why we shouldn't trash someone who doesn't go along with our opinions. I know that's a lost case on the internet, but it's okay if someone hates a film that everyone loves, or loves a film that everyone hates. The why is more interesting to hear. At the end of the day, it's only an opinion. Opinions can come from biasness or nostalgia. I sure can be biased on my reviews sometimes. If somebody grew up with something that they liked when they were young, their reviews can be more nostalgic and more biased. This helps remind us that we are not all above intellectuals. We are just fans who just want to enjoy the experience.
Just accept an awesome film. Don't ruin it, don't overthink it, don't be me.
Director Martin Scorsese got fans divided on his opinion that comic book films are not cinema. This is from someone who did not grow up with these type of movies, but with more stylistic films. So of course his outlook is gonna be more unbiased and more skeptical, and that's okay because it makes us re-examine why do we like the things that we like and why are we the way we are.
I did not care for The Godfather.
What?
Did not care for The Godfather.
How can you even say that, Dad?
Didn't like it.
Also, don't be afraid to change your opinion. We like to think that critics have too much power, that they can make or hurt somebody's career.
Well, this is the theater, and you don't get to come in here and pretend you can write, direct, and act in your own propaganda piece without coming through me first.
When in actuality, they don't. Sure, it may harm on the first few weeks, proven by Rotten Tomatoes, but if the artwork itself is good, then no matter what anyone says or writes, it will stand up on its own. Films like The Shining, 2001: Space Odyssey, and Psycho were at first critical flops. Even The Shining back then was nominated in the Razzies for Worst Supporting Actress. Now, not only do we question those reviews, but they become classic masterpieces that are taught in film school. Siskel at first gave it a bad review to Silence of the Lamb, but as well, this became a classic and an Oscar winner. Batman and Robin was considered one of the worst movies of all time, but big surprise, it still sucks. So it's okay to change our minds because as we evolve, so does our opinions through time. I used to hate Batman v Superman, but after time passing, I've gone to appreciate a little more the intentions they had, despite it still being an interesting mess. I used to love The Last Jedi, but more and more, I'm getting disappointed to realize the choices they made in the movie were all for nothing. And lastly, don't think a film critic is too important, because honestly, they are not. In fact, they're really not necessary. For cinephiles, it's a pleasure to hear other people discuss movies. But no matter how good or bad the film is, even the worst films have more time and effort spent in a matter of months and years than a written piece of paper that took us one day to write.
But the bitter truth we critics must face. The average piece of junk is probably more meaningful than our criticism designating it so.
Of all the jobs somebody would become a critic, imagine somebody had the aspiration of being a pole dancer and they just couldn't make it. So they just decided to go out to every nightclub and criticize every performance.
The high heels were unbearable, the dancing was atrocious, and the ladies had no drive or passion to dance. Not for one moment did I believe they could grab onto that pole. I could see through their thumb bubble.
So, what do you thought about it? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What are some of your favorite movie critics out there? Hello? Leave your thoughts on the comment section down below. And if you like this video, leave a like and subscribe for more content. Well guys, tune in next time because when I get back, I'll be criticizing something outside of what I'm used to, as I look into how does wrestling reflect our pop culture through the decades. So for now, that's it for today. Ciao.
Pasito tum tum, pasito tum tum.